وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. Your Lord has decreed that you do not worship any but Him, and be good to your parents. If one or both of them attain old age in your life, do not say to them a word of disrespect, nor shout at them and speak to them respectfully, and be humble and tender to them and say, O Lord, show mercy to them as they nourished me when I was a child.
Tonight we have gathered here by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this program in Masjid by Moulana Shahidul upon invitation. Moulana Shahidul has studied Islamic theology at Islamic University of AzzikraTRN, South Africa, and is currently a Hifz teacher and Alim course manager at JMC, Jamaica Muslim Center, and gives reminders of AzzikraTRN. May Allah accept Moulana Shahidul and may Allah bless him as well, inshallah. If you have any questions during the program, we have three ways. The first way is that you can email us directly with Najeeb's 205@gmail.com. You can raise your hand, or you can, we're going to pass a paper and you can write down your question and send it up. I would like to request Moulana Shahidul to enlighten us with his informational speech, inshallah. So
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this program in Masjid by Moulana Shahidul upon invitation. Moulana Shahidul has studied Islamic theology at Islamic University of AzzikraTRN, South Africa, and is currently a Hifz teacher and Alim course manager at JMC, Jamaica Muslim Center, and gives reminders of AzzikraTRN. May Allah accept Moulana Shahidul and may Allah bless him as well, inshallah. If you have any questions during the program, we have three ways. The first way is that you can email us directly with Najeeb's 205@gmail.com. You can raise your hand, or you can, we're going to pass a paper and you can write down your question and send it up. I would like to request Moulana Shahidul to enlighten us with his informational speech, inshallah. So
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I don't feel the crowd. I'll try it again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. MashaAllah, that's better. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu wa sallimu ala Rasulihil Kareem. Amma ba'd. فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد كرمنا بني آدم وحملناهم في البر والبحر ورزقناهم من الطيبات وفضلناهم على كثير ممن خلقنا تفضيلا. Dear respected brothers and elders, honorable mothers and sisters, I will start off by mentioning some praises towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala All praises for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful and the most kind, the most noble and the most generous, the most exalted and the most high. All praises for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who has control each and everything. All praises for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who has control over my life, everyone's life, and the one who has control over my death and everyone's death. Salutations and praises upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our intercessor of the day of Qiyamah, our master, our guider, and the seal of the prophets, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and is due upon him. Amin ya Rabbal Alameen. Dear respected brothers and elders, honorable mothers and sisters, and fellow students, we have this very flyer that you've probably seen where it says one word on the flyer. Right? Can someone tell me that one word on that flyer which pretty much sums up our whole entire program? Right? Not you, Haque. I know you know. Someone from the crowd. Yes. Imitation. Imitation. The mic? Oh. So yes, like what's your name? What's your name? Yeah. Shadman? Okay. So Shadman has answered very beautifully. He said imitation. The word imitation has a lot of meaning to it when you say imitation. Because when a person does anything in their life, it's pretty much an imitation. The very clothing that you are wearing, the very clothing that I'm wearing. You know, someone before me wore that very clothing. And if you keep going back in time, and as humanity, from the dawn of civilization, as human beings started coming upon this very earth, all the way down till now, the imitation of clothing has changed, but the fact to cover oneself has always been there. So that is to present, in a way where imitation is applied in the factory of clothing. You have imitation in other things, such as if a person, he purchases a car, then you imitate that person and you purchase a car. When a person, he buys a house, and another person, or me for instance, purchases a house because that individual purchased a house. But when it comes to imitation, in terms of religion, this is where a person is tested the most. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in the hadith of Abu Dawood, where this word imitation is utilized. If you look into the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which mentions "Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum," which means "Man tashabbaha biqawmin." Anyone knows the meaning of this hadith? Probably memorized it, or can someone help me out in translation for this? This is a youth program, so I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And if any of the guys are trying to go back to the masjid so they won't be questioned, don't try to do those moves, please. Anybody over here? All right. So "Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum" means that the one who imitates and the one who copies, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, the one who copies a nation, then he or she, or he is from amongst them. He is part of them. Interestingly, this hadith, when it comes in Abu Dawood, it comes under the chapter, like where would you find this very hadith? It comes under the chapter of Kitabul Libas, the chapter of clothing. Because clothing plays a very great role when it comes to imitation. But at the same time, you can apply this very hadith when it comes to religion. As the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, that be careful when choosing your friends, because a person takes their religion from their friends. Khalili, their company. A person you hang out with, you will take your religion from that person. So you have to be careful when you choose your own friends and your own company. So when you put the whole, all these ahadith and the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ, and you put it together, more or less, when you talk about imitation, it can be of anything. Nowadays, the very trend that we have is following a person on YouTube, following a person on Instagram, social media. If he or she has an approximate amount, I don't know what's the trending amount of people that you should have as followers on social media, probably 10,000 or 20,000, then I think that this person is very important. Or I feel that this person has made it somewhere in life. And that's a reason for me to imitate that person. When you're living in the western side of the world, in this place, in this side of the world, especially now you're living in New York. Now in New York, in the heart of New York is New York City. New York City, when it comes to style and trends, they're pretty much number one. Different parts of the world want to follow what New York City follows. They're always up with the trends, always up to date. What's the latest phone? What's the latest jeans? What's the latest clothing? And imitation applies here. Because when a person takes the role model of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is the very individual that we should imitate, then let me tell you something. Number one, you save a lot of money because you don't need to show off and implement other people's teachings onto you. Number two, when you apply the teachings and the role of the Prophet ﷺ, he's a role model in every era and every time, and his modeling and his impressions and his sunnah never changes. Whether be it 20 years ago, whether be it now, or whether 20 years later. But that's the thing about styles nowadays, right? Because so many things come out every day. So many things come out every week. And that's one of the impressions in which especially high schools give off. When you're in that mode, in the rotation, in the cycle of high school, a lot of high school is about style. And there's plenty of reasons to it. I'm not going to go into details. But there's plenty of reasons. And one of those reasons is because high school is something that is not paid for. So something which is not paid for, many people's attentions or many students' attention go away from the money issue and they put it into other things. Their attention goes to other things. With that being said, the reason why I had to explain imitation in this form is because the hadith comes under the chapter of clothing. But yet you can apply it in your faith, you can apply it in your daily lives. Who am I imitating? Or does my imitation represent myself in the view of Allah's commands? Does it? In the way that the Prophet ﷺ showed me? Does it? We should question ourselves every day. And that is the first step that you should take when you hear the word imitation. Renew your intentions. Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Am I buying something because it's a trend? Do I feel the peer pressure because I'm going to go purchase this very item or this very object? Do I need to act a certain way? We have certain YouTubers and Instagrammers and people on Facebook and social media act a certain way. That is the trend. Am I supposed to apply that trend? Believe it or not, when you apply the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ as a role model, you don't need to go that way. You do your 5 times prayer, you follow what the Prophet ﷺ said, at the same time you do your secular education. That's a win-win for you. You win in this very dunya, and you win in the akhirah. One of the things that was requested by me to specifically go into this very topic, after mentioning imitation, it's about a certain trend, especially nowadays. It's looked at as something you just have it in your hands and you utilize it. Or because this and this or such and such person is doing it, so I'm going to do it. Or maybe my friend told me to do it. And I'm going to go straight to the point. 2 things here that we should understand. The first is addiction. Something that you're attracted to and something that you feel like you need to have. Can someone tell me, in your own words, someone tell me, What is addiction? How would you express yourself to be addiction? Yes.
Addiction is when you're addicted to something that you can't stop using it over and over.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? One more person. Yes.
It's basically when you're basically attracted to one thing and it just keeps going on. So
It keeps going on. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. Addiction is something which places a person in a condition where he or she has an addiction or addicted to, or he or she has an attraction towards a substance or a thing or any object. Now, addiction can be towards anything. Addiction can be towards anything. People have many types of addictions. Some people have money-making addiction. Literally. I feel that the middle crowd over here is talking a little too much over here. So if you feel the need to talk, and if it's pretty much an emergency, you can take it to the back of the masjid or outside of the masjid, and after you're done, you can come back. So I'll give you that, moment if you feel that is necessary, because this is a very important topic that we have to address, and many of times it's hidden. It's an epidemic in the community. So the first thing is addiction, and the second thing that I'm going into, inshallah, I will mention it later, but let's just elaborate addiction for some time. People have many addictions. Like I was mentioning earlier, people have the addiction of making money. The only thing that's on their mind is just money, money, money. They're always thinking about money. You can't sit with that person even for a minute. That person will always find a way to bring up money. Hey, listen, you know what? I got this much money at home, back home. I got this much money here, and this is my bank balance here. But since you guys are kids right now, your addiction can vary. Some of the youth, they have an addiction towards games. They're always thinking about games. They're at school, they're thinking about games. How can they get home and play Minecraft? And what was the trend last year? Fortnite. I think it kind of died out a little bit right now. No, it didn't? Okay, you guys know better. So you have these types of addictions. You're a game addict. Like, you need to have those games. And sometimes, I want to say this to the parents. Sometimes we choose two things. When I want my children to be outside, or to have my child in the home and let them have whatever device and whatever electronics and whatever games. So you choose the one, hey, I'd rather have my children be at home and be with his games than rather outside. And we make ourselves feel better. Remember, you're going to reach such a stage, when you get addicted to games, you're going to reach such a stage, you're 24 hours, you're just thinking about that game. How am I going to beat that game? When I'm going to get on? Or oh my God, oh my Allah, my friends are online and I have to be over here sleeping, or I have to have dinner, or my father is telling me to do something, or my mother has to tell me to do something, or is telling me to do something. And I need that game, and for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. I need to have it. And you know what some of you start doing? You start whining about it. And you start crying about it. And then you go on to threaten your parents. And this is the truth. You know why? Because it's an addiction. You see, the brain, subhanAllah. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, a great scholar, when mentioning and talking about the brain, he says the brain is such an asset to a human being, to insan, to a human being, is that it cannot be purchased or it cannot be sold. Subhanallah. It has such a value to it. This is the brain in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And there's many parts of the brain. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert in this very field. But the brain has this very activation source. When a person is addicted, if he does it once, it's all right. If he does it twice, it's all right. But as soon as this person starts doing it daily, this is kind of like fasting in Ramadan. Why do you think the Prophet ﷺ, he would fast in the month before Ramadan, or 2 months before Ramadan? Why? Why do you think the Prophet ﷺ would fast particular days of the month, particular days of the week. You know why? Because he knew that the brain, scientifically speaking, the brain triggers an activation. It triggers an activation which plays a role for the entire body, that it recognizes that a body is doing something it is used to. That's why the first fast in Ramadan, when you're fasting in the first day of Ramadan, for many of us, it's very tough. And the reason why it's tough is because we don't fast the whole entire year. We don't do any extra nafil fasting. So when the first fast comes, it's so hard for me to fast. And I keep checking the time, when it's going to be over. I don't feel like reading Quran because I feel weak. I'm physically feeling weak. I don't feel like doing any of that. The only thing I'm doing is checking the time. But as soon as 3 days or even a week for some of us goes by, the body gets used to it. You're fasting, you're working at the same time, everything's cool, everything's fine. You're doing work, you're going to school, you're doing everything just as you were before that 1 week or that few days. Because why? The brain finally releases an activation of what? I'm not saying it has something to do with addiction. If you're addicted to fasting, subhanAllah, that's mashallah, that's awesome. You know, you'll be losing weight and also be in Jannah. You know? But try to understand what I'm saying towards the brain. So there's some neurotransmitters in the brain which activates when a person is addicted to something. So the brain realizes that, so the body is ready. So for some of us over here, especially the youth, you're addicted to different things. And one of those things is games. Some people are addicted to shows. They're always looking forward to the new Netflix show. And they'll sometimes give you a positive thought about it. And if you tell them, hey, what are you addicted to? Why are you always on Netflix for? They'll tell you, you know, Netflix, it released a new show about the job. So I'm doing some good things, brother. You know? Or they give you some excuses that, you know what, I'm watching documentary. You know, that's not true. You know, watching some nature channel again and again about a lion or some animals. Yeah, it's interesting. But it's not something that you're going to be addicted to because it's not all that fun down the line. But once you catch on a show, subhanAllah, once you catch on a show and you know that there's a couple of seasons available, which makes it even better. So you're like, you know what? I don't even have to wait. I'm going to get this done. And you know these things that we subscribe to, it has an expiration date. So it makes you utilize the very app as an addiction because you don't want to pay the money in 2 weeks, so you better watch everything in 2 weeks. And you're so addicted to it. Now you're charging your phone. I got to be on that show. You're missing lunch. You're missing dinner. So what happens with addiction? You lost your health in the process. And then you ask why? My head is hurting. I got these migraines. Oh, my back's hurting because you're stuck on that show, on that phone for so long, you haven't worried about your stance and your position. And at the end of the day, you lost your deen too. So many prayers go wasted. Oh, I'm going to pray later. It's only 5 more minutes left on the show. That's the second thing. For many of the youth, chit-chatting online is an addiction. You come for namaz, you come for salah. MashaAllah, you did a great thing. Right after the salam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Believe me, nobody texted him. He just takes out the phone, he's like, he will close it like that and he will put it over there and then no one's texting you, buddy. The only people that care about you is the scam calls that you get every day. Those guys, they check up on us, mashallah. At least someone cares. Or at least for me. If my wife or my family doesn't check up on me for a couple of hours, I know I'll get a scam call. They love me so much. They check up on me all the time. You know? So, think about it. When I mentioned this about chit-chatting, it also includes the phone. Trust me, you take the phone from anyone. I'm talking about myself too. You take my phone away, you know what I'll be thinking? Oh, maybe somebody's contacted me for a program. Or maybe I need to be somewhere for Jummah. You know? And that's an, addiction actually. Type of addiction. Because I need the phone because of course, phones have good things about it, definitely. But you will notice that even the phones nowadays, they have this monitoring system where it says screen time. They will tell you how much of screen time you had this whole entire week. They will also do a comparison of the following week. How much time are you spending compared to last week? And that's something good. Because you should be improving your screen time. You shouldn't be using it so much. But nowadays, everything revolves around the smartphone. If you don't have one, you're not part of the group. I remember when the first iPhone came out, and one person showed it to me. I said, wow. You know, upon what? The person was just showing me how to zoom in and zoom out. I was like, wow, that's so amazing. And for that person, it was like an addiction. He kept zooming in, zooming out. You know, the whole time. He keeps showing everybody in the masjid. He keeps showing everybody outside. He's like, check it out. I can zoom into your house on Google Maps. I was like, wow. It's an addiction. Phones are the most addicting things out there because you have your games here, you have your shows here, you have your friends here, you have the whole world, you have whole social media. And some people are literally always on social media. They always have to know what's going on. And at the same time, some people are addicted to show where they are on social media. You have this bottle of water, he will take that bottle of water, he'll post it up, he will write water. Yeah. And he's outside. It could be something good too, you know? He probably came for the Fajr Salah. The whole month he wasn't there. And when he finally came for the Fajr Salah, he takes a picture of the Imam from the back and he goes, pray your Fajr. Right? You have an addiction to that. Because you have an addiction that people need to know where you are. I met an individual, a businessman, a couple of weeks ago. I met a businessman, and I was talking to him, and I said, you know, I always see you all around. You're always doing something. You're always posting pictures, and you're going everywhere. Even if it's a very small thing, you're everywhere. You know what he told me? He said, whether I make money or not, I just want to make sure that the people know I'm there. I was like, subhanAllah. He goes, I want people to think about me all the time. And that's a way of marketing. But look how he made it. He wanted to do it for business, but now it's an addiction. He said, I can't let it go. It's there in me. With all this being said, addiction can be of many ways. And there are good addiction that you can have. That you're addicted to zikr, mashallah. And you know that doesn't happen. That's a rare case. You're addicted to Quran, mashallah, if you are, mashallah. This is sad to say, but I want to mention this. I'm a very straightforward person. I don't want to let it go before moving on to the very topic that I want to discuss when it comes to addiction. Some people have the addiction of talking to opposite genders. Not just one, but multiple. You know? So if I'm talking about if there's a boy, one thing for sure, if a person is always texting throughout the entire day, and if it's a guy, you know for a fact that he's not talking to another guy the whole day. Guys don't do that. Right? Guys call. Generally, guys call, they meet up with coffee or see you at the masjid, maybe at the park or something like that. Generally, when a person is addicted to texting, they're texting what? The opposite gender. And similarly, well, with the case with girls, is that they can talk to their peers for hours. We know that. We can look at our mothers. Right or wrong. They can talk to other aunties for a long time. But what I'm saying is, you guys get what I'm trying to say. Time is against me, but let's move forward, inshallah. So let's talk about that very item that needs to be addressed, especially nowadays. And that addiction is drugs. Believe it or not, it's drugs. I have some people, they're laughing. But you know what it is? When it takes over your life, trust me, it's not great. It's not pleasing. In the long run, when it's down the road and for many years the person is addicted to drugs, He or she wants to stop, but it's very, very tough for them to stop. So what do? We have to stop it from beforehand. You know, a lot of times in school, the teachers will tell you, maybe you have programs in school where they will tell you, say no to drugs. It's that easy. But it's not easy when you have sometimes the people that you know are doing it. There are individuals, just because there are individuals who come to the masjid in the house of Allah, they will be selling drugs. There are individuals outside of the house of Allah, in front of your apartment, maybe in front of your house. And they also claim that they say, you know what, I'm Muslim. But if you ever need, call me. Sadly to say, they will also tell you that, hey, listen, I'm Muslim. Right? Guys, I need everybody to pay attention at this very moment. Because this is the butter of the entire program. Because 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 18, 24, 28, you have people who have reached the stage where they even have children, they're addicted to drugs. And that's the truth. You know, in America, they have certain types of drugs when it comes to medicine. If you overtake it, you will overdose. And a person becomes addicted to it. You know, it's that easy to have access in drugs. If I make a call in the drug hotline, or any person that has the eligibility to prescribe me drugs, all I have to do is make a call and I say, hey, listen, I'm going through some depression right now. And you know sometimes what that depression is for the youth? A good reason can be, I'm not getting good grades because I have this pressure at home. And I come from a brown family, so I need to have 110 on all my exams. So I'm going through depression. Sometimes, I had a 14-year-old kid that come to me a couple of months ago, who came to me and he said, I'm going through depression. And I'm taking some pills. A 14-year-old. And that substance and that pill that he's taking is acting as a drug. And he said, it has become an addiction for me. So I asked him, why was it such that you went into depression at the age of 14? It doesn't make sense, because I was riding bikes and the only thing I cared about was playing basketball and collecting Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You know? So he told me, it's because, listen to this. He says that I went through depression is because I love this girl and this girl does not love me back. Yep. He's only 14. His life didn't even start yet. Now he's taking pills and tablets to what? To outscore his depression. And what happens? You had a reason for it, but that reason is gone. That feeling comes into him. He takes the drugs, and it goes away for a moment and temporary time. It can be a couple of hours. It can be even days. But you see that dose that he keeps taking and taking and taking, eventually he loses himself. Now he has to have that. Another reason why a person gets addicted to it is because we have a friend. I don't want anybody to look at each other over here, right? We have good thoughts and good judgmental. We're in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you have someone or someone that you know, or maybe two of you know someone outside, that's your business. I'm just giving a general talk. No need to point fingers, no need to look at each other, nothing like that. Anyhow, sometimes it happens. He's a good kid. He's going to school. Everything's fine with him. Then one day his friend comes and he says, hey, listen, man. I tried this new thing yesterday, you know, and I actually have a little bit of it right now. And since you're my buddy, you know, I'll always share everything with you. So after school, eh? How about that? And you might make an excuse. You might be like, hey, listen, I gotta be home a little early. My mom needs me there. And you're probably saying those excuses because you want to stay away from it. Not because maybe you wanted to do it. Because you wanted to stay away from it. You're trying to avoid the whole situation. So this friend tells you, all right, so if not today, I'll save it for you tomorrow, buddy. Because I'm your friend. And you're like, yeah, no, I knew you since kindergarten, first grade, whatever it is. Yeah, we went to the masjid together, Maktab. So you trust him. And then finally, with pure pressure, right, he keeps telling you, and you go, listen, let me introduce you to this very substance, and it's very nice. It's actually legal right now. It used to be illegal, but it's legal right now. So don't worry about it. If you think you're gonna get trouble with the police or the cops and stuff, don't worry about it. We have the right amount. We're in the legal stage right now, for now. So then you're like, you know what? Okay, no harm. You know, it's just one. Okay. And you're over there, sitting at the park behind the bathroom, right? And you're there, and he introduces it to you, or she introduces it to you. It can happen both ways. Let's keep it very open, right? So, and you go ahead. It can be something which you take through the nose. Maybe it's some powder, probably some cocaine or something. And I'll be straight up. This was going on. It can be some type of pill too. They can give you some type of pill, so you eat it. Or it can be something which is the most case, something that you smoke. And you take your first puff. And since you're new at it, there's a bunch of other guys over there too, because they were also invited. So you get introduced to all these new guys. And you feel more, you're like, you know what? It's just not me and my friend. There's more guys and there's more people here too. So it makes you feel a little brave. And you have your first cough or your second cough. And they're like, nah, he's probably new. He's probably new. And you're like, you know what? You don't like it though. You honestly don't like it. But you still do it because everybody's doing it and everybody's doing it so well. They're professionals in it. And you're like, oh, wow, they look so cool doing that. And then after that, you come home. You feel bad about it. You smell like that too. You don't want your parents to smell you. So you start doing other things. You grab the air freshener because you don't have cologne. And then you're like, you know what, I gotta get something stronger to avoid the smell. And then you probably tell your friend, hey, listen, man, no more. And then he finds you in another situation. Maybe you're playing basketball or playing soccer or something. And then you're after soccer, I gotta talk to you. That's the best time. You know? You'll be energized. You'll be hitting those 3-point shots. And you're like, really? And then you go ahead and you do it again. And then slowly, you start having this attachment. And again, addiction to it, remember, it's addiction which comes later after you try it. And both of these things fuse together. The substance, which is actually bad for you. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is very simple. We learn from the fiqh, the Islamic jurisprudence breakdown of the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, take care of 5 things before 5 things. Out of those 5 things, I want to share with you 2 things. The hadith says, take care of your free time before you get busy. Make yourself busy. Keep yourself busy so you don't give yourself the chance to go out there, to even get close to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about certain actions in the Quran. He doesn't say, don't do this. He said, don't even get close to it. Because Allah ta'ala knows once you get close to it, and that's it, you'll be addicted to it. It's going to be hard for you to let go. So the Prophet ﷺ says, take care of your free time before you become busy. And now you have taken that time and you busying yourself with this very substance. It doesn't make sense. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, take care of your health before you get sick. You're destroying your health before that. The brain that you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about it time to time. Look into yourself. Think. The Quran and Hadith. You know, some people will tell you, oh, I want to go check if the Quran and Hadith says specifically if drugs is haram. Let's check it. You're not going to find it. You're not going to find the word drugs there. Allah Ta'ala doesn't talk about certain actions. He said don't get close to it. And through health and through free time, these are the 2 main things, especially for the youth. Some people become professional time wasters. And what happens is that you indulge and you engage yourself in those type of substances, and then after that you become addicted. And then what do you start doing? It opens up to more guna, and it opens up to more vice. Why? Because you're just a kid. You don't have a job. And your friend tells you, hey, listen, man, I'm out actually. I need to purchase it. So do you have some money? And you're like, man, I don't have money. And, well, I have some ED money left over. And you use that. There goes your ED money. Your mom asks about you, hey, where's your ED money? And you're like, I mean, for Allah's sake, it's Eid, right? ED money is mine. And she brushes it off. And then you start doing what? You start stealing from your parents. Your father brings in money for the family. You start stealing the money. And now, the act of stealing comes into play. Because you want that. And you have to get it. Your friends are telling you. You're telling yourself you need it. So you start stealing. And then the father, eventually, or the mother, they find out. Remember, you can't hide everything forever. I'm pretty sure anyone who smokes, their mother and father don't know. The mother and father don't. They know. We're not stupid. All right? The mother and father are not dumb. They're not stupid. Sometimes they're not going to say anything, but they know. Whether it's 5 years, 10 years, they're going to find out down the line. So don't think that you're clever. And then the father finds out and he says, oh, listen, you're stealing, you can't be doing this and this and that. And then the fight starts happening. Because you know what the drug starts doing? It changes your morality. It changes the way you act with people. So it has, of course, health effect. It has an addiction effect. It opens up to more vices and more sins. And it changes you socially. People don't want to interact with you. They see you over there, you the druggie. They don't want nobody wants to deal with you anymore. You become very open. You can't hide it for too long. And nobody wants to socialize with you. It's you and the people and the family tree line that you created of druggies. It's all those guys. And eventually you find out that guy passed away. And she passed away. And the guy who used to provide from the top, he also passed away. Or he's in prison. And you start worrying. And you're like, you know what? What did I do with my life? Because you don't want to study. That's what drugs does to you eventually. Because you only want to do that. It takes you away. And then you start bringing different excuses. That you know what? I don't have good grades. So that's why I'm doing this now. I didn't get this in my life. That's why I'm doing it right now. And eventually you reach to such an extent, you don't even know why you're doing it. You don't know. Some people just tell you, a scenario that you can picture. Imagine a person smoking, and there's a kid next to him. And he said, hey, listen, man, smoking is really bad. Don't do it. Right? What are you applying over there? Right? So just because someone is doing a certain act, doesn't mean that you have to imitate them. So an overall of the summary, I think I kind of going overboard with the time. I want everybody to understand over here the few steps right now to take in your life to stay away from it. One person came to a Shaykh. It's a joke. All right? So if you don't laugh, don't say I cracked a corny joke. One person came up to the Shaykh and he asked the Shaykh that, oh Shaykh, is weed halal? All right, guys. I didn't even finish the joke, and you guys laughing. Oh, wow. So the Shaykh told this person, he said, the only weed that is halal is tajweed. All right? Okay? That's just a joke. Okay. If it was a corny joke, you guys can tell me afterwards. Well, not right now. There's a camera recording. All right, guys, let's keep it down. The first thing to do, inshallah, look at your company. Look at your company. You're dealing with your friends throughout the day. You don't deal with your parents. Your father is at work. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward our fathers. Your mother is cooking for you and doing everything for you. They're not going to be in your life throughout the whole entire day and an everyday schedule. Unless you have off, and that's a different story. Take care of your company. That's the first thing. Believe it or not, your company has an effect on you. If your company is always talking about cars, then you're going to be a person like a car person. If your company is always talking about money, you're going to be a money person. If your company is talking about education, you're going to be an educational person, that you always want to go to the best schools, the best colleges, and earn a degree, and then make money. No problem. And you'll enjoy your life. Take your deen and your faith and your characteristics from your friends in your company. If you don't find a good company, as Umar radiallahu anhu says, that being alone is better than being in bad company. Being alone is better than being in bad company, and being in good company is better than being alone. Subhanallah. Very simple rules. The Sahabas, they great Sahabas like Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Imagine their environment. Their environment made them successful. There's a reason why Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he was the one who was chosen to be next to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, next to him in the resting place. There's a reason why Umar radiallahu anhu is resting next to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Choose your company. That's number one. Number two, of course, the school always tells you, say no to drugs. So you have to say no to drugs. Don't go next to it. As Allah Ta'ala says, don't even go close to certain actions in the Quran. And this is something which will harm your free time. This will harm your health in the long run or even early. I had students that I spent time with. He was 15 years of age, sadly to say. He was addicted to drugs at the age of 14, and he passed away at the age of 16 due to some cancer that he got. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enshroud and also enlighten his grave. But he passed away. And he was a student of mine, and that saddens me. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone. And number three, gratitude. Remember, ask yourself, with this being said, inshallah, I will close up. Gratitude. Why am I saying this? Whenever a person is doing this, and if you feel the need to do it, ask yourself, what are you missing in your life to be doing this? What are you missing? You're going home, you have plate on your food. Sorry, you have food on your plate. You have the very ceiling and the very rooftop on top of your head. You have these two things. Statistically, you are more richer and more wealthier than 66% of the world. You are rich. What are you missing from your life? You have parents who take care of you. Ask yourself, what am I missing in my life to do this very action? What am I missing? So be thankful. And that is the last thing that I want to say before I conclude this very program, inshallah. And a quick reminder, I know we have questions and stuff. We have the Christmas outside. It's going on. This is the atmosphere of this side of the world. We have to accept this. There are two groups in this. I was mentioning earlier in an earlier program, there's two groups to it. One group will tell you that it's haram, don't have any association with Christmas. They're right in their ways, but I feel that is too extreme. You're avoiding everything. You can't avoid it. You see it everywhere. And another group, too loose. Too loose. I had a friend who sent me a picture 2 years ago, and in his living room, he bought a Christmas tree in his house. So I said, wow, you're too loose, man. You have to be, our deen teaches us to have a balanced life. Why do we recite Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim every day in our salah? Oh Allah, guide us to the straight path. What is the straight path? A straight path is the balanced life. So Christmas is there. We don't apply Christmas into our religion because why? Why don't we? Because it distorts our faith. But at the same time, Islam teaches tolerance. I'm not asking you to go outside and start topping all the Christmas trees. I'm not asking you to do that. You can have good gestures in this time of the year. Show what Islam is all about. You have good neighbors, you have neighbors around you, give them a gift. Appreciate them as a neighbor just for the sake of holidays. Do that. So Islam overall teaches tolerance. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me and all of us the tawfiq to act upon whatever has been said. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Jazakallahu Khairan. So just before we start our Q&A session, followed by the Kahoot match, I just want to share a few words. And that is that in 2016, the CDC reported that 10,497 people in just 1 year lost their lives to drunk driving accidents. In just America. The same country that just under 100 years ago had a law that was passed to remove and prohibit and literally make haram alcohol. Non-Muslim people that led this country under 100 years ago had a law passed to remove alcohol from everywhere. So you can imagine how terrible this thing is. So how can we follow such a society? Such a society that is so self-centered, so selfish, so self-centric. It's all about me, myself, and I. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me drinking alcohol? What's wrong with me doing drugs? I'm not harming anyone. This is what many people say. But the numbers, what do they prove? They prove otherwise. They prove that you are harming other people, and not only are you harming others, but you're harming yourself from doing this action. So I would like to share a story about a king that had people under his rule. And this king, he gave an individual 3 choices. There was a particular individual amongst his kingdom, and he gave him 3 choices. The king gave him 3 choices. You have one of these 3 choices, and you have no other option. The first choice, you have to kill someone. The second choice is you have to commit zina. You have to commit fornication with the opposite gender. The third and final choice was you have to drink alcohol. So he weighed out his options. And he decided to weigh out which one would be worse. Which one would be not as bad. Because all 3 of them are bad, obviously. So he thought about killing someone, and he realized that this is too evil. So he went to the second option, and he said, you know what, committing zina, this is really terrible. I can't do this. He came to the third option, which was drinking alcohol. He said, you know what, I'm only drinking something. It shouldn't be too bad. So he ended up drinking the alcohol. What ended up happening was, after becoming drunk, he did the first 2 choices that he had. He killed an individual, and he also ended up committing zina. So he did all 3. All 3 of the terrible actions that the king gave him a choice to do. So we're not people. We're not people who follow our desires blindly. We don't just only exclusively follow our desires. Because we have our role models. As the speaker said, our role models are the prophets and the Sahaba. If we follow the prophets and the Sahaba, we will be successful in this world and the next world. This world being the temporary world, and the next world being the permanent world. On top of that, if you follow the prophets and the Sahaba, people, non-Muslims, they will try to imitate you. You will not be the one trying to imitate others. The non-Muslims will try to imitate you. Because of what? Because of how much dignity you'll have, how much honor you'll have. Just by doing what? By following the prophets and the Sahaba. So, this is a very important point, and when it comes to halal and haram, always ask questions if you need to. If you have any doubts, you ask, why is this halal, is this haram? Why is this halal, why is this haram? Don't ever feel shy to ask these type of questions. Don't ever let a doubt linger inside your heart. So with that being said, inshallah, we'll start the Q&A session. And if you have any questions, send them to the email, or you can ask right now by raising your hand, inshallah. Anyone have questions of you? And if you guys have questions upstairs, you can write it down on an index card and send it. Anyone up here have questions? I know there has to be a lot of questions. I saw some people. Yes. You have a question? Yeah.
So, 21%
of teenagers involved in fatal accidents by getting distracted to their cell phones. But is this actually true?
It could be. Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best.
You literally said that 21% are fatally influenced. Hey Google, how many people died from texting?
The question is, what types of addictions are haram?
Google, how many people die from cigarettes?
What type of addictions that are haram? Alright guys, I need everybody to be quiet. It's going to take a minute or two inshallah. Someone asked the question, what type of addictions are halal? I mean, I mentioned it earlier. Being addicted to deen, prayers, fasting, Quran is all halal. But if you're looking at it in a very steady way, that something that you can adapt to, be productive. That's what it is. Whatever you're doing, always ask yourself, are you productive? And whatever that action is, going to the gym is productive. Eating healthy is productive. As the Prophet ﷺ says regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He likes and He loves a strong believer. Allah Ta'ala likes a strong believer. Allah Ta'ala loves that. So choose your addictions wherever you want to place it, but place it in a very productive way that doesn't have a negative impact on you. But make sure whatever you're doing, even if it's productive, do not let it go onto your salah time. So even if you're doing something good, but salah time comes in, and you're still doing that good action, then that good action will become haram for you. Literally, it will become haram for you. It was halal, but because salah came there, that activity for that time becomes haram. So there are many ways to have addiction towards halal things, but make sure that the thing that you have or that you're addicted to is productive, inshallah.
Is it haram to drink non-alcoholic beer? Is it haram to drink non-alcoholic beer?
Is it haram to drink? You're already saying the answer. You're saying non-alcoholic. So they have candies and stuff which have the word beer in it. So just because you have the word beer in it, look at the ingredients. And it doesn't have any alcohol or anything like that. So definitely it should be halal. You have this one flavor. It's called root beer, right? Root beer, but it's not alcoholic. Anything else? Trust me, you don't want to drink root beer. Stay in your lane. Drink your orange juice.
What did she have? How do you stop depression?
How do you stop depression?
The contract.
If you have a depression problem, if you have, a lot of people are still talking, but I don't know why should I answer the question. What is this? If you're going through any types of depression, come to the imam. Come to a scholar, talk to them. Talk to someone about it. That's the first step. If you feel you need someone to talk to, they have doctors which you can talk to. You can sit down and lay your problems out. I'm not saying just because you're depressed, pray it is going to go away. That's not how it works. You got to talk yourself out of it. Only 1% of people texting or working.